Tonight, with less than 3 months until the presidential election, we take a look at where things stand in the race for the White House between President Donald Trump and Vice President Joe Biden. Joining me now by Skype with the election update is John Gizzi, Chief Political Columnist and White House Correspondent for Newsmax. John, great to see you again, sir.
Great to see you again, my friend.
What's your sense of how this election is shaping up so far?
Well, it's kind of an unusual election. I would almost use the adjective unique in the sense that the United States is dealing with the unprecedented circumstances of the coronavirus, make campaigns, polling, public relations, media assaults, all of it very different. We've never been through a campaign in modern times in which there are so few personal appearances by candidates, and the race is all waged through social media and online.
Exactly.
In addition, for the first time in my career as a journalist, I won't be going to a convention of either party. Oh, I will be covering it from my living room table and, and watching it the same way all Americans do. But a lot of the behind the scenes reporting, such as when I covered the platform committee last time in Cleveland and later in Philadelphia for the Democratic convention, the rules committee fight, and the Republicans had a very significant fight over their rules to try and deny the nomination to Donald Trump. All of these things one was able to learn a lot about and report from being there in person, because people will talk. That's not going to be the case in 2020.
Exactly, John. And one of the big issues for both candidates is the coronavirus pandemic. And how do you think it's going to affect voters' opinion about this race? And also, do you think that Biden's going to be able to get his message out and turn things around?
Well, I don't know about turning things around. The fact is that right now, Vice President Biden is in a very good position. He leads in virtually all polls and has a very strong lead in the key states. I noticed in Pennsylvania, G. Terry Madonna, leading pollster of the Keystone State, gave him a 9-point lead over a state that President Trump barely carried, albeit he was the first Republican since 1988 to do so, but he barely carried. The same is Michigan right now. Now, again, when we get into a fall campaign, a lot will depend on how the economy is at that point. Are we any closer to getting a vaccine for the virus? And if you note in polls, that is sacrosanct with voters. That's what they want more than anything, including going back to work or being out in public or not having to have the social distancing. It's that vaccine. How close we are to it may well determine the outcome of the election. For now, I'd have to say Vice President Biden is in a good position, but I'm certainly not writing off the president, Donald Trump.
Hey, John, let's turn to another big issue getting attention. That's the emergence of faith in the presidential election. First, I want to play a soundbite for you from President Trump last week talking about Vice President Biden. Take a listen.
To do things that nobody ever would ever think even possible, because he's following the radical left agenda. Take away your guns, destroy your Second Amendment, no religion, no anything, hurt the Bible, hurt God. He's against God, he's against guns.
He's against God. Big, big, strong statement there. Your reaction to that?
My reaction is that religion does enter into politics in one way or another, and has for many years. Presidential candidates for decades have talked about their faith in God, how their religion impacts on their lives. And again, I think it will come up in this election. Now, Vice President Biden is someone who describes himself as a practicing Catholic. And
exactly.
He is, and he can cite where his faith has helped him through some tragedy.
And speaking of that, I mean, he's talking about, his faith, but yet it goes against some of the things of Catholic teaching, such as abortion, sexual orientation, gender inequality. Talk to me about that.
Yes, exactly. And I've heard him discuss about how important his Catholic faith is, and yet he separates that faith from his views on abortion. In other words, he's personally pro-life, the line of the late New York Governor Mario Cuomo, but he wouldn't impose that on others. Now, many Catholics believe that that's nonsense, that of course you impose your views. Why else would you seek elective office? And why does he do it on this particular issue? I might add that Vice President Biden used to be strongly pro-life. He even participated in some of the early marches for life, according to their chief organizer, Terry Scanlon, and his views have changed, as those did of a lot of Democrats, Bill Clinton and Al Gore among them. One other thing, Vice President Biden will receive the sacraments of his church. Many other Catholics have been told that if their life position contradicts that of the Roman Catholic faith, they are advised not to seek the sacraments of the church. Governor Tom Ridge, the former governor of Pennsylvania, former Secretary of Homeland Security, was banned from Holy Communion by the Bishop of Erie. He said he disagreed, but he followed the teachings of his church, and he has never presented himself for communion, thus sparing priests controversy and a possibly embarrassing situation. Vice President Biden does not have that opinion.
Well, always great insight from you, John. John Gizzi, thank you so much for joining us. Chief political columnist with the White House Correspondent for Newsmax. Thanks again, John.